All right, welcome to part 3 of the notes. So part 3 of 10-1, and this one is dividing. So here it's just getting a little bit more complicated, but we're just going to have to remember that when we divide with fractions, we always multiply by the reciprocal, but our steps do not change. So we're going to do this off to the side. So this is example C. We have x squared plus 5x plus 6 over x squared minus 4 divided by 5x plus 15 over 3x squared minus 4x minus 4. Okay, so always step 1, we're going to find out what the denominator cannot equal. So x squared minus 4 cannot equal 0. And 3x squared minus 4x minus 4 cannot equal 0. And we're going to factor. So this is x plus 2, x minus 2 cannot equal 0. So that tells me that x cannot equal negative 2, x cannot equal 2. This one, we need something that multiplies to negative 12 and adds to negative 4. That would be negative 6 times 2. So it's 3x squared minus 6x plus 2x minus 4 cannot equal 0. Split it. 3x is our GCF, that's x minus 2. And 2 is our GCF, and that gives me x minus 2. And we'll split it again, so x minus 2 and 3x plus 2 cannot equal 0. So apply the zero product property, x cannot equal 2. 3x cannot equal negative 2, x cannot equal negative 2 over 3. And there's my restriction so far. I have actually only 3. 1, 2, this is a repeat, and then 3. All right, step 2, factor the numerator. So step 2, let's go ahead and factor those numerators. We've got x squared plus 5x plus 6 over our denominator, and then 5 divided by 5x plus 15. It's going to be over our denominator. So this one factors as we need something that multiplies to 6 and adds to 5, which would be 2 times 3. That's x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6. Take out the GCF, that's x, and that's x plus 2. Take out the GCF, it's 3, x plus 2. And group our leftovers, that gives me x plus 2, x minus 3. All right, divided by 5x plus 5. X plus 3, excuse me. All right, so this one, all I can do is take out the GCF. It is finished. All right, the next step is we're going to go ahead and rewrite it with our factored form. So we've got x plus 2, x plus 3 over this denominator, which is x plus 2, x minus 2, divided by 5x plus 3 over this denominator, which is right here, x minus 2, 3x plus 2. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and flip over here. And so what I had was, x plus 2, x plus 3 over x plus 2, x minus 2. And I had it divided by, well, remember, we're going to change this to multiplying by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of this fraction. So this is going to go to the numerator, and this will go to the denominator. So that gives me 3x plus 2 and x minus 2 over 5x plus 3. Okay, now at this point, if there's any common factors, we can reduce them out, but we also have to check at this point. So only for division, when we flip, we now have to take this denominator and we have to set it equal to 0, because now we cannot have a negative 3 in the denominator. If we do, we'll have another denominator that's equal to 0. So 5 will never equal 0, so you can just divide both sides by 5. So x plus 3 cannot equal 0, x cannot equal negative 3. Here's a new restriction. Okay, it may be new, maybe that we already had that one, and actually we didn't. So we do have 4 restrictions total. All right, now if there's any common factors, we're going to reduce those out. For example, x plus 2 and x plus 2 are in common. The x plus 3 and the x plus 3 are in common. And the x minus 2 and the x minus 2 are in common. And so actually we're left with 3x plus 2, right, in the numerator, and then in the denominator a 5. And our restrictions are x cannot equal -3, right, -3, and -2, 2, or -2/3. So -2, 2, or -2/3. These are all of the restrictions. All right, guys, you guys should do the try these. You should pause this here and do the try these. I'm going to go ahead and do those on this same sheet of paper. So we have 2x plus 4 divided by, so this is try these, and this is A, divided by x squared minus 25 times x squared minus 5x minus 50 all over 4x squared minus 16. All right, so first I'm going to check my denominators. I'll set each of those, they cannot equal 0. Oops. X squared minus 25 cannot equal 0, and 4x squared minus 16 cannot equal 0. And then I'll factor each. So this is x plus 5, x minus 5 cannot equal 0, x cannot equal -5, x cannot equal 5. And here I'll take out the 4. I'll divide both sides by 4. That gives me x squared minus 4 cannot equal 0. And this factors as x plus 2, x minus 2 cannot equal 0. So x cannot equal -2, x cannot equal 2. All right, next we're going to factor our numerators. So all that we can do here is take out of the GCF. It's a 2. That gives me x plus 2. And over here, I've got something that multiplies to -5 and adds to 5. Oh, I'm sorry, this should be a 50. I knew that was a typo as soon as I saw it because nothing does that. So what will multiply to -50 and add to -5, which would be -10 times 5. So it's x squared minus 10x plus 5x minus 50. And this factors as x minus 10, and then plus 5, x minus 10. And so that gives me x minus 10 and x plus 5. Those are my two numerators. Here's one of them, there's the other one. We're going to go ahead and stack those over our denominators. So we've got 2x plus 2 over this guy, x plus 5, x minus 5 times x minus 10, x plus 5 over x plus 2, x minus 2. So remember, there's no need to check for restrictions again. That's only on dividing, right, when we multiply by this reciprocal, which we're not doing here. So we can go ahead and take out our GCFs. There's an x plus 2. Common factors, divide them out. There's an x plus 2 again. Here's x plus 5. Here's another x plus 5. And so we get that our simplified form is 2x minus 10 over x minus 5, x minus 2. And our restrictions are x cannot equal -5, 5, -2, or 2. All right, last one, guys. And then we are done with this section of the notes. So to try these B, we've got 6x squared over 3x squared minus 27 divided by 2x plus 2 over x squared minus 2x minus 3. So let's take these denominators. We're going to set them not equal to 0. And factor and solve. So on this guy, we're going to take out the GCF. That's 3. That gives me x squared minus 9. I'll divide both sides by 3. That gives me x squared minus 9 cannot equal 0. Factor, we get x plus 3. X minus 3 cannot equal 0. So x cannot equal -3 or 3. All right, next, something that multiplies -3 and adds to -2, which is -3 times +1. I'm going to go ahead and factor this quickly. So that gives me x minus 3 and x plus 1 cannot equal 0. That means that x cannot equal 3 or -1. And there are my denominators fully factored. Now let's go ahead and factor the numerators. That one does not factor 6x squared. There's nothing to factor. This one, they can just take out the GCF of 2. So this gives me 6x squared over this denominator, x plus 3, x minus 3. We're going to divide that by, we take out the 2, that gives me x plus 1 over x minus 3, x plus 1. Now, at this point, don't forget we have to multiply by the reciprocal, so this one's going to switch. And we're going to have to check for the one last restriction again. That's 6x squared over x plus 3, x minus 3, times x minus 3, x plus 1 over 2x plus 1. Now remember, this is where we have to check again. So we're going to take this denominator and set it not equal to 0 and solve, divide by 2. We get x plus 1 cannot equal 0. That tells me that x cannot equal negative 1. And so we have that restriction already covered here, but we do have to check it. All right, take out common factors, x minus 3 and x minus 3 reduce out, x plus 1, plus 1 reduce out. The 2 will reduce into the 6. 2 goes into 6 3 times. So this gives me 3x squared in the numerator over, the only thing left in the denominator is x plus 3. Remember, you cannot reduce with addition or subtraction happening. And then don't forget to state your restrictions. X cannot equal negative 3, 3, 3 repeats, so we don't have to repeat it. So negative 3, 3, 1, negative 1, and negative 1 repeats. All right, guys, that was all of the notes. You need to try to check your understanding. I will see you in class tomorrow. Have a great night.